how's it going? So now I'm going to be talking about the standard for some of those blockchain technologies and how those technologies potentially can operate, and where you yourself, if it's something that you are interested, could developing some of those technologies and some opportunities, perhaps not right now, in the future, if anything. Let me share some information and bring your attention to ICO 222 standard. Myself, I'm currently looking to develop messaging software, perhaps something simple in the beginning, and from there, uh, overall, I was trying to understand how banks exchanging data and where to begin when developing a core product. So it's something that's my own thought process. Where else would you begin? Perhaps helping by people beginning of communication, and perhaps from there you can improve by perhaps having some people out there to talk something about. I guess developing a full platform perhaps is something that I could do in the future. But if anything, I'm currently doing market research and I'm looking to understand a little bit more about some of those technologies out there and some of the potential opportunities out there. Then banks exchanging information. I personally believe it's not what's happening. People are just sending information to each other, some perhaps codes, numbers, I don't know. So that's what I'm trying to understand if how this process works. ICO 222 is financial messaging standard that is used for electronic data interchange between financial institutions and other organizations. It provides common language and format for exchange of financial information, including payment, securities, trade, finance, and other type of financial transactions. My personal understanding that this information need to be coded, right? So it would be scrambled information, and there would be a handshake that will take place where one party needs to have a code and another party needs to have a code, so that information can potentially be decoded as information is being exchanged between either financial institutions or one party to another. ICO 222 is designed to replace older messaging standards such as Swift, MT, message type, messages, which with a more modern and flexible frameworks. For those who don't know, so many different institutions currently using Swift method, and I have covered Swift already. Uh, it's over 100 or so companies that are currently using that Swift standard. I'm not entirely sure if Swift MT is the same one, but either way, so most companies, that's my own understanding how they are exchanging that information. They're not actually exchanging any physical, so as IG like a gold or paper, only thing what's happening, they're exchanging data, and that data goes from point A to point B as a message. So overall, I'm just trying to understand all of those principles, right? It uses XML-based message and supports a wide range of financial instruments and transaction types. ICO 222 message can be used for various financial services, including cross-border payments, securities, trading, and trade finance. Since a lot of people can build, or there is a lot of value in that, right? So even in those blockchain technologies, some of the projects that you can potentially build on this particular technologies, I don't know about widespread adoption. If there's any potential there, I would highly recommend to do your own research and try to understand how many of those banks can potentially adapt this particular payment system, but there's a potential there. One of the key benefits of ICO 222 is its flexibility and extensibility. It allows for the inclusion of additional information and data elements, making it easy to adapt to exchanging regulatory requirements and business needs. This flexibility has led to its adoption by many financial institutions and payment systems around the world. I'm not entirely sure about this part because I think there might be some conditions that would come with the payment, right? So I don't know so that means would you hold any control over the payment, or that would be financial institutions, right? So if at any point it would be not centralized, right? And who would write down those contracts, right? If it would be you yourself writing down those contracts, or if that would be payment institutions. Otherwise, you're not necessarily controlling all your money. Your money is being controlled by banking institutions or perhaps different governments, right? If money will not necessarily as go as information, but it would move from point B to point A to point B with a particular contract with the terms. That means I would give you, to put in perspective for those people up there, £500 if I was sending to a friend, let's call him Tom. I send £500 to Tom. Tom cannot spend this money on anything other than perhaps water and groceries. So I don't know, like food or sandwiches, something like that. So there is potential that you're not sending physical goods where people can take that money and potentially spend where a person wants uses what the future looks like. That's the flexibility that we are discussing here. RCO 222 is often associated with development of real-time gross settlements (RTGS) systems and the implementation of payment systems like SWIFT, Global Payment Innovation (GPI) initiative. Uh, yeah, so there are a lot of banks who are looking within the last couple of weeks where was some announcements that I have seen. Not necessarily those announcements being confirmed, but I have seen a lot of people talking about how those banks are looking to perhaps digitize all their assets. Some of those banks have there having a lot of assets on their balance sheets, and I'm talking about large percentage of assets, right? And so over 50% of U.S. assets, and how they're looking to digitize those assets, and how they can do that everything on those systems, right? So it's a I personally believe this kind of process had begun some time ago, perhaps 2 or 3 years ago, and just now some of the projects and some of the introduction is taking place. But since all this infrastructure is messaging, it's nothing new. But myself, I'm interested in how to make it decentralized, if anything, and how potentially reduce admin fees, and where could one party pay within second party without the need of the third party, if that makes sense. So one person can pay to a second person without the need of third party overseeing all the operations. So if that's possible without the bank, without admin fees. If I would work with any of those projects, perhaps myself, depending of how much time it would require, I might take some percentage, I don't know, to just to cover all the costs, I guess. But either way, not 2.5% of all the transactions, right? Perhaps. But since if we were to launch a number of projects, 100 projects on those systems, right? So what of those projects would actually succeed, right? Those projects based on the payment systems that would take 2.5 to or perhaps up to 3% of transaction fee, or just take for transaction fee instead of paying off money transacted, right? Not percentage, but perhaps 0.5 off entirely. So every transaction would be cost based on that. So perhaps there's some alternatives there, but I don't know what's valuable and what's where the business lies. Since we all are there trying to make money, I guess. So if there are some alternatives, perhaps those projects might be bought out by larger companies who have access to a lot of capital right now. Even myself, if I were to launch any of those projects, if any of those banks would step in and offer a large paycheck, and I'm talking billions, right? So perhaps that would be my exit strategy, right? So For people out there who are interested in starting their own first business, I have published a book, Rise Impact. In this book, I'm planning on launching a number of books with same genre. In this particular book, I'm focusing on livestock enterprise and where to begin for people who are interested in starting their own company. I'm covering all the basics to take you from zero all the way to $10,000, euros, pounds. It's very dense information. I was planning on putting everything into 100 pages, but it was just over that for people who are looking for dense information. So that you would succeed in doing that, if anything, and if there's anything else that I can add to that would be perhaps some of the examples that I'm sharing, as well as those can reduce potential costs that you might incur. You can find this book in the description below, as well as Top Retailers has it. Just to go summarize today's video, that would be for people who are interested in understanding a little bit better of what would be required to develop some of those projects where you can transact money from point A to point B. If anything, building community, that would be the one aspect, as well as perhaps offering high quality services, as well as getting paid for offering those services, and potentially get compensated for 4% of every transaction. That would sounds like a great compensation. So it depends how you're planning of running your business, right? So there's potential there, as well as a exit strategy. So if you are interested, perhaps do your own research if that's particular ICO that or standard that you should look into, as well as how many of the banks might be interested in using those services. If you want to have full control of your project, if you are looking to partner up with different banks, existing banks, or if better to do something different with our physical institutions, and perhaps just do via email or different platforms out there that potentially can cause other set of issues, right? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next one.